What's up, you guys? How you doing? With the love, Kendra here. You know what I just realized? I do the peace symbol a lot, and I see like videos on social media, like TikTok and shit, where they say like that's such a millennial thing to do. I'm a millennial. I'm a millennial, so I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care. So anyways, let's get into this story time. Comes from Lily Stories on TikTok, and this is going to be the story of, I think her name is Janice. I don't know when I'm editing it and I'm wrong. I'll put her name somewhere on the screen. But this is the story of a very horrible lady and an even more horrible mother. So let's get into it. This is gonna be my first story time. Let me know how y'all like it. We're gonna see, okay? We're gonna see how this goes. But yeah. Okay, so let's get into the story. So this part, I tried to use this app to record this story and it did not turn out right. So bear with me, okay?
She was so evil, grass won't even grow on her grave. Trigger warning. In 1905, in Pineview, North Carolina, a little girl was born and named Jeanette. Jeanette's mother said, "It was summertime. We were out cropping tobacco when my water broke. My husband and father rushed me to the backer barn where we delivered our baby, whose cord was wrapped around her neck. She wasn't breathing. She was turning blue. My father took the goat hoof shears and cut the cord from around her neck, and that was when she took her first breath. From that point on, I called her my little miracle, but I had no idea just how much of a demon that child really was." Now, despite her family loving her and supporting her in every way, they noticed that Jeanette was displaying some very concerning behavior. Something was wrong with her. Jeanette began abusing animals and other children, and at 4 years old, she threw her baby cousin out of a window, permanently disabling him.
Her name is Jeanette. So the lady's name is Jeanette. This is about this woman who was basically sacrificing her children's children, so her grandchildren. She was sacrificing them, like, through, from my understanding, because I did watch the story times and I was like, oh, this is interesting, let's start our story times off with this. So to my understanding, she was allowing her children to get pregnant at a very young age. Then they would have the baby and then she would sell the baby. And then it gets darker from there. So, yeah, let's continue watching.
Luckily, her mom found him before she ate it. She lured a little boy out to the creek bridge, pushed him off the bridge, broke his leg, and left him there. He wasn't found until 3 days later. So, of course, all throughout school, Jeanette was a big bully, and she was constantly beating up and threatening other kids. By the time Jeanette was 9 years old, she had a long history of killing family pets. She killed 5 dogs, 6 cats, 4 goldfish, 17 rabbits, 7 hamsters, and 2 parrots. Why in the hell would her family keep giving her more pets? They were enabling a serial killer. Jeanette was 10. She lured 2 of her cousins and their dog out in the woods, and she's all 3 of them. The 2 cousins did survive, but the dog didn't, and she stole his tail. They never found it. They were kicked out of church.
So the mama is crazy. She put the baby, tried to put the baby in a pot. And then she also tried to get the parents or the mom to eat glass. Like, what the hell? What the hell? And it gets worse. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, and it gets worse. That's the craziest part about all of this, is that it actually gets worse. Like, just keep listening.
After Jeanette was caught stealing money from the collection plate and feeding it to the toddlers in Sunday school, and she was also caught choking 2 other children. She couldn't be left alone with anyone. Jeanette's mom said, "For whatever reason, I felt like I messed up with Jeanette, so when she was 10, me and my husband began trying for another child." Why would you bring another child around this demon? When Jeanette was 12, we had our son. When we brought him home from the hospital, the first thing Jeanette said when she saw him was, "Wow, he would look really good in a pot of hot boiling water on the stove." And that was the moment I knew I could not leave her alone with her little brother. Gee, you think it took you that long to figure that out? She was so bad the whole community shunned her and her family. They said, "Look, we don't want her at the church, the school, our house, at family gatherings. We don't want her nowhere near us." Now, despite her horrific reputation, by the time Jeanette was 16 years old, she met a really nice boy named Willie. He was 18, he went to a different school, and the pair began dating. Oh man, Willie, no. I know it's coming. She gonna kill him. Willie was a very sweet boy. He was a hard worker. He saved up his money, he got him a car, a place, and eventually they got married and moved in together. Jeanette would always threaten Willie, if you try to leave, I'll take you out with the others. I'll put you in the ground with the demons. You don't want to with me, Willie. While on their honeymoon, Willie was hospitalized after Jeanette bashed him in the head with a statue because she said he wasn't walking fast enough. Within a couple of years of getting married, Willie had bought a farm and they were now making a good income by selling their crops. Janelle did.
So people were just allowing her to do this? Like, then he married her. That's the crazy part. Like, Willie, are you okay? Obviously, he's not okay. He clearly got banged in the head. Like, let's continue.
And they were now making a good income by selling their crops. Janelle did what she wanted. Either she stayed home, went out drinking, was at the bars, or was out with other men. At 18, Jeanette gave birth to their first child, a little girl named Gertrude, but within 3 months, the baby was sent to live with her grandmother. Because Jeanette tried to choke the baby to death after Willie bought her a dress. She said he was giving the baby too much attention. She didn't like that. By the time Jeanette was 21, she had gotten pregnant with another man's baby. Willie knew it was not his child, but he did not care because he was devoted to this marriage. Y'all, when Jeanette had this baby, she named him after the baby's father. She didn't name him after Willie. I can't with this witch. I would her ass. Willie adored Robert, and everywhere.
Bro, what the hell? She what? This is a case of one of those things where I stayed. I stayed when I should have left. That's what this is giving. Okay, let's continue.
Robert, and everywhere Willie went, he took Robert with him. He doted on him. He did not mind that Robert was not his biological child. Jeanette quickly realized that she could use the children to manipulate Willie into doing whatever she wanted and giving her whatever she wanted, so she quickly got pregnant with the next child, which was Willie's. The next child was a little girl that Jeanette named Janelle, and her father nicknamed her Birdie. But sadly, Birdie did not make it past 3 weeks old because Jeanette beat her to death and then threw her off a cliff and claimed it was an accident. Dang, she is evil. But everyone that knew them knew it was no accident because Jeanette had been badgering Willie to get her a new car, and when he said they couldn't afford it, she took it out on baby Birdie. She told Willie, if you don't get me that car, you're next. And within a couple of weeks, she had a new car. I would have took that car and run her ass over. Willie said, I should have known something was up when she said she was going to take the baby for a walk. She never did that. And unfortunately, by the time I realized what was going on, it was too late. Now, before we hate Willie, let me just say, Willie grew up in a very toxic household where he was abused by his parents and he was nearly killed multiple times. People believe he was also on the spectrum, and now he's a victim of domestic violence, and they think that's why he was so afraid of her. So within a couple...
You know what? I recently seen a reading by, if y'all don't know, we watch tarot over here on this channel, babe. We talk about tarot and all things spiritual, okay? I recently seen a reading on AEL, her tarot channel, where she was talking about a masculine man who was basically getting ran all over by a woman. And as much as I love to see a woman and I love to see feminine empowerment, I think as a man, when you're being emasculated like that shit is tragic. Like, and not to say that, I feel more bad about a man being emasculated than a woman not knowing her power. But I just think as a man, that has to feel like really crappy. Because men are, not to say that, men are supposed to be strong. I mean, yeah, obviously we as society, that's what men are known for or known as being strong. But I mean, as a man, I couldn't imagine like someone having me by the balls again and again and again and again. That would drive me fucking up a wall. That would drive me crazy. Like, you're just gonna control me and I'm gonna let you? But anyways, I digress. Let's get back to Willie and his trauma and his crazy broad, his wife, Jeanette, who cheated on him, by the way. Had a baby by another man and named the baby after the man that she cheated on her husband with. Come on, Willie! But trauma, right? We don't victim shame over here. Let's get back to the story.
He's a victim of domestic violence, and they think that's why he was so afraid of her. So within a couple of years, they had gotten pregnant again, and Janelle had another little girl, and this time she named her Bernadette. Now when Jeanette had Bernadette, Willie took the baby when she was like 2 days old to his family's house because he was afraid that Jeanette was going to kill her. Within 3 months of having Bernadette, Jeanette was pregnant again by another man. So within a year of having her third child, Jeanette is now having her fourth child, a little girl who she names Willadine. Now Jeanette doted on Willadine, and people think the only reason she loved her so much was because Willadine's biological father was Jeanette's high school sweetheart who she was still in love with. Now during this time, Willadine, the last child, she's already up a few years and she's acting just like her mother, if not worse. So now Jeanette has all her kids back and she favors Willadine, and her and Willadine make the other kids' lives a living hell. So before long, Jeanette was pregnant again, this time by Willie, and they have their
The first time that I watched this story, I wasn't really paying attention. It was playing in the background while I was watching something on my laptop. And yeah, so I'm really experiencing it the same time as you. What the fuck? I'm not going to say what I want to say. I want to say that this sounds like some trailer park shit. I'm not going to lie to you. Like some old trailer park 19 whatever, you know. These are the outcasts. The social rejects. Gotta be. Anyway, let's continue.
Called Jacob. The only reason Jacob survived was because Willie kept him on his shoulder with him at work 24/7 so they couldn't hurt him. So by her late 20s, Jeanette has her last baby, a little girl who she names Geraldine. All the remaining kids feared their mother. They were terrified of her, and they learned pretty quickly if you want to live, you better stay away from mom. Except for Willadine, because Willadine was her favorite. The whole family was terrified of Jeanette because they knew if you got on her bad side, she would kill you. And the sad part was there wasn't really any police in this town back then at that time. People got away with a lot back then, especially abusive or killer parents. So fast forward a few years, and 2 of the grandparents have died, and now those kids are being sent back to live with Jeanette and Willie. One way that she would torture her kids is she would buy them a pet, let them love it, and then when she got mad, she would kill and then make them bury it. She would beat these kids so bad that, like I said, Willie would have to take them to work to keep them alive. Jeanette would starve these kids, beat them, lock them in the house, wouldn't let them talk to each other. She turned them against each other. Willadine would snitch on the other kids, and she would even make stuff up just so Jeanette would beat and abuse the other kids, and sometimes Willadine abused them too. It was all she knew. Willadine wrote, "I was always my mama's favorite until I was 13, and when my body began to develop, my mom despised me. It was like she was jealous of me. She hated the sight of me. So by the time Willadine was older and her mama turned on her, Willadine now had nobody because none of the other kids wanted anything to do with her at that point. So now Willadine was on her own." Willadine said, "When I was 15, I got pregnant by my high school sweetheart. When I told my mom, she threw me through a window. She said if we didn't get rid of it, she would get rid of me. Mom said that she would not allow her husband to support my bastard. It's not his responsibility or hers." Now back then, they really didn't have abortion clinics around, so Jeanette told Willadine if she wanted to live in their house, she would have to let her do an abortion. So to get rid of this child, Jeanette forced Willadine to drink poison. She did, you know what, with a hanger. She hit her in the stomach. She even took her out to the river in the middle of wintertime and dunked her in the water repeatedly. But it didn't work, and Willadine gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby. But Jeanette said one way or another we're getting rid of that child, and she meant it. 2 days later, Jeanette came into Willadine's room with 2 strangers and a handful of money, and they took the baby and left. Jeanette sold her own grandchild. Willadine wrote, "That's when trouble really started. After Mama realized she could make a lot of money from selling these babies, she basically became my handler or pimp from that point forward." Part 2 coming up, and things get even crazier with this family.
What y'all think? Let me know. Talk to me. Drop it in the comments. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, hit the like button, okay? I have plenty of videos, okay? If you like Zodiac, you want to watch readings and things about your Zodiac, go find them. I read for all the Zodiacs. I don't think I have like one Ophiuchus reading, though. It's like years ago. But there's plenty of content here on this channel, okay? Become a member. If you're into astrology, I have astrology content, specifically just like what's going on, like with Saturn, what's happening in Jupiter, what's going on in the North Node, and what's going on in the South Node. That type of content, definitely become a member. It's $1.99 a month. Plus, when you become a member, and if you catch my lives and you're like, "Hey girl, I got a question," you get free questions. Okay? And y'all know y'all be having questions. Y'all be having a million questions when y'all be booking out personal readings. So I don't know why y'all don't be paying that $199 and be getting all your questions answered. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. It doesn't make sense. Like, personalize your journey. But anyways, let's go to part 2. Let's go to part 2.
She was so evil, grass won't even grow on her grave. Trigger warning. Jeanette sold her only grandchild for $75 to 2 strangers she had just met in a bar the day before. Willardine wrote, I was so ashamed that I didn't stand up and fight back and protect my child. I just let her take him. When my father got home from work, he came to my room and found me in bed. He asked me where was the baby, and I couldn't even look him in his face. I just rolled over and started crying. And Willie automatically knew Jeanette had done something to that baby. Now, in his mind, he thought Jeanette had murdered the baby like she had their other child, so he went to confront her. Willardine said, when my father confronted my mother, it was a huge argument. My mother could not believe he was actually standing up to her for the first time. He was yelling, throwing things, pushing her, like actually standing up and fighting for this family. Sadly, it was all for nothing because the next morning around 8 o'clock, my father's body was found on the farm. My mom told everyone he had a heat stroke. He had a heat stroke at 8 a.m.? Okay. There were no cuts, scrapes, bruises, or blood. No injuries at all. It looked like he had just collapsed and fell asleep. But I knew the truth. I knew my mom had found a way to get rid of him without drawing attention. Damn, I knew she was gonna kill Willie, and now the girls don't have nobody to protect them. And that was when she turned her attention to her daughters, Willardine and Geraldine, who were still teenagers at the time. Jeanette looked at them like human incubators. They were young, they were fertile, they could carry full term. It all started when Jeanette came home from the drugstore with a bag of makeup. She told Willardine and Geraldine to get themselves fixed up and get on a clean dress, and that they were gonna go out and eat. And they arrived at a place that her mom calls the smokehouse. Willardine knew right then that her mom was up to something because she had never taken the family out to eat, especially not her kids. My mother grabbed our hands and she took us to the back of the smokehouse where there were 5 men in one room. She told my sister to lay down, and my sister started crying. Oh my God, I know where this is going. Trigger warning. My sister refused to lay down, and then my mom grabbed her up by her hair and snatched her dress off. So while this is happening to Geraldine, the 13-year-old, Willardine says that her mom grabbed her by the hand and led her to the front of the smokehouse where the owner was. This man looked me up and down and said, yeah, I guess she'll do. He said, don't you ever feed your kids? You know you'd make a lot more money if they had some weight on them. I begged my...
So not only was their mother basically breeding these women, but she was allowing men to sleep with her young children so that she can make money selling babies. I gotta do some research on this lady. I'm gonna do some research on this lady, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna let you know what I find. But let's finish watching part 2.
I begged my mother, please don't do this. Please don't let him touch me. I just had a baby 3 days ago. I'm not even healed up yet. I'm hurting so bad. He said, I don't care. And when he was done, I ran back in the smokehouse to check on my sister, and that was where I found her laying on the floor. She was only in there for 30 minutes, and these savage animals had destroyed her in every way possible, but dead. My sister was never the same after that night. Both girls wound up pregnant, but they have no idea what their mom did with the babies because sometimes she didn't sell them. Sometimes they just disappeared. Willardine thinks that her mom was sacrificing some of those babies because the ones that she didn't sell would magically disappear, and then she would later use their bones in what she called potions. 3 days after Willie died, Jeanette moved a man named Bob into the house and told the girls that was their new stepdad, and he would be taking over the process of getting them pregnant. That man was a dangerous predator, and he helped Jeanette hold those girls hostage for the next 7 years. Jeanette and Bob would also lure in young homeless girls and tell them that in exchange for a place to stay, they would have to get pregnant by Bob, but nobody knows what happened to the girls or their babies. This was all about keeping those girls pregnant so Jeanette could get her hands on their babies. So around 7 years later, Willardine and Geraldine finally escaped their mother's home through an older brother and start living their own lives. So years later,
I did look at some of the comments that was on part 1, and I think part 2 as well, and some people were saying like that they didn't believe that this was a real story, and that the story of Jeanette Ralston and the guy who deleted her, unalived her, is Willie Eugene Sims. And so I looked it up. So this is here, Jeanette and Willie in Santa Clara County. And it says the murder of a woman in San Francisco almost a half a century ago. So there's that. But let's get back into the story time and finish up part 2. And I'll see what else I can find while we're listening.
Jeanette's in her 60s, and she contacts her sons and says, hey, I've changed. I'm ready to be a mom and grandmother. And believe it or not, her sons fall for it, and they start bringing their families over to visit with Jeanette. Robert said, it was Halloween, and my mom begged us to bring the kids over to see her because she missed them. So after some discussion, my wife and I decided to take them to her house. It was a big mistake. We took the kids to see her, they got their candy, and we left. And by the time we got home, my son's mouth was bleeding because my mom had put shards of metal in his candy. Robert's son had to get 19 stitches in his mouth and tongue. Jeanette did that to her own grandchild, so they never went back to see her again. Her youngest son, Jacob, moved his whole family in with Jeanette because they had nowhere to go, and within a day, they found shards of metal in their food. His wife said, one day I got a weird feeling, so I walked in the kitchen, and that was where I found my mother-in-law putting my 2-month-old baby in the oven. I snatched the baby away from her and asked her why she did this, and Jeanette responded, because I wanted him to meet his Aunt Bertie. I remember in part 1, that was Jeanette and Willie's infant daughter, baby Bertie, that she had murdered and thrown off a cliff. Jeanette's family thought she would never die because she was so evil, but at the age of 96, she fell ill and was placed in the hospice, where she then tormented the nurses and staff. She would lure nurses in and then physically attack them and constantly ask if they were pregnant or had babies. One nurse said, when I worked there, I was terrified of her. Her eyes didn't look right. They were black as pits. She scared the hell out of me. I kept a mini Bible in my pocket anytime I had to go in her room. She knew very intimate details about me and my family, even though we had never met her before. One time she asked me if my husband and I were still trying to conceive. I don't know how she knew that, but we were. 2 days before Jeanette died, she went into a mini coma for around 8 hours, so Willadine went in to say goodbye while she was unconscious, but as soon as Willadine walked in the room, Jeanette sat straight up and said, bitch, when I die, I'm gonna eat your soul. She was trying to hurt people even as she died. As the dying process started and her heart began to slow down, she was kicking, screaming, spitting, and growling and biting. As she took her last breath and her heart beat the last time, she was still growling and snarling and trying to hit them. And to this day, no grass grows on her grave, not one blade of grass. I wish I could show y'all a picture of it, but her family asked me not to expose them. It's so creepy because every grave around hers is growing thick, tall grass, except hers is just barren. Every plant they put on her grave, no matter how much they water and take care of it, it always dies within a few days. Whether it's a rose bush, a fern, or an azalea bush, it doesn't matter, it always dies. I bet it's because she was so evil, her soul can't rest. Her soul is a bad vibe and it's killing everything around it. Them plants be like, this, we out.
I'm looking online just to see if I can see anything about this. And there's a lot of different Jeanettes, obviously, who were born in 1905 and who did live a really long time. Could be Jeanette Abigail? I don't know. I was trying to listen to the beginning of the video again just to kind of like see. But my patience is getting a little thin with this story because when I first recorded this, I was using one app and I was toggling between like the two apps, and it should just recorded it as one big video, and it didn't. So now that I'm having to like edit it the way I'm having to edit it, I'm a little pissed off. She married somebody who has the same birthday as me, whoever this person is, but it doesn't show her children. It doesn't show how many children this person had. Anyways, I don't know. I'm just looking, but I don't know, y'all. So anyway, it's just been an interesting experience. My phone keeps glitching. That's super annoying, but whatever. We got the story time done. Let me know how you like it. Obviously, it will get better as we move forward. But yeah, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Follow me on Instagram, okay? And yeah, if you guys got some spooky stories that you want to share with me, email me at the email that's in my description box and share them with me. And or if you want to go to my Instagram and leave me a message about a scary spooky time story that you have, share it. Let's share it here. Let's do it. All right, you guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. I love you so much. Okay, thank you. See you soon. Bye.